All right, it is Monday, June 29th, and I just wanted to talk about the water department a little bit. We've been in the news quite a bit lately with some information that local reporters gained access to on Missouri American Water offering to buy our water system back in March. And I want to break this down into some things that I think are really important. One, the offer was for $27.5 million. It came unsolicited and also apparently included some commitments that they would make to upgrading our infrastructure. This was an unsolicited offer, which means it was the first offer that they made. Does not mean it is necessarily their best offer, their only offer, or an offer that the city should necessarily take. At the same time that this offer was made, we had a water subcommittee that the mayor and council had seated to study the water department's future, whether to keep it and how we would maintain it and what that would look like, how much it would cost, but also versus potential sale, which was the other option. At about the same time that the offer was made, the water subcommittee charge was changed to then only study keeping the system and how much it would cost to maintain it. The water subcommittee then made a recommendation to council at about the time that council discussed the Missouri American Water offer. So there's your timeline. Offer in early March, water subcommittee who was studying the cost of maintaining our system versus a sale, their charge was changed to only consider how to maintain it and how much it would cost. And then the water subcommittee wrapped up and never got to study what a potential sale looked like. The new council took office on April 29th. The offer apparently expired on May 4th. I was not, that offer never came before the new council to discuss it or to talk about what's coming next. We now know that we're expected to be able to talk about the water department on July 16th at a work session, but to date, we've not had any discussions about that. Here's where I'm at. We have 90 million at least in infrastructure upgrades that we need to make over the next 10 years. We've raised water rates 50% over the last 5 years. We have, debt all over the place from various projects that we've taken on. And so our financial situation is really tough right now. We also, are trying to pay back not just our general fund, but the water fund and the electric department in the overspending that they did. So we have a lot of financial problems that we're trying to address. If we're going to talk about the future of the water department, in addition to talking about raising rates or taking on debt to try to fix that problem, we should also talk about what a potential sale would look like. I don't think that the residents get all of the information or get the best decision coming out of council without weighing every single option on that table. Now, some folks think that that discussion is done, and that's because they don't want to talk about it anymore. But if residents are going to get a council that's going to really take every decision in mind and make the best one, then we should study all of our options. And that includes looking at what potential sale looks like. I also want the water subcommittee to finish their charge. Let them look at what potential sale would look like. Let's flesh out the pros and cons like they were supposed to, and let's lay it all on the table. Kirkwood needs radical transparency right now in how we operate, how we divest information to residents on what's going on. And so if an offer is made, council should discuss it. We should have the water subcommittee look at it like they were charged to do. And then we should make the best decision for the residents. And ultimately, that includes letting the public weigh in heavily. But I want to lay out all of our options, pros and cons for all of them, give it to residents, and let them weigh in on what they think is the best step. This decision isn't over with in my mind. We still have a lot to discuss. I don't think you can make the best decision with, one hand tied behind your back. And so let's go ahead and flesh it all out there. I'm glad that we're going to talk about that in July. But again, you know, we have to start making these upgrades if we're going to keep the system. We're not currently addressing that. We're replacing mains right now at a 0.89 replacement rate, which is under the 1% goal we've had for the last decade. They spent a decade transferring money out of the water department to fund other things. I think we have to have a serious look at all of our options, and right now is the time to do it. It would have been, prudent for us to do that before we went and okayed the Mrazek project, which would obviously house a water department. But we still have decisions to make on water before we raise rates for residents or go and take on more debt. And so I'm looking forward to that conversation coming up in July.